It's George Masri here with a fresh new episode of the Well Off podcast. And on this episode, I spoke to none other than Alex Powell, who is a friend of mine. He's a realtor out of Hamilton, Ontario, and he is the owner or co-owner of Powell Property Solutions. So for those that don't know, he's a real estate investor and he works with his wife, Kaylee, who is a real estate salesperson. So if you guys have been following for a long time, you'll realize that I interviewed them a couple years ago. They were one of the first people that I interviewed, and my wife Mandy was on that episode as well. So you guys can go back and listen to that one if you want to find out a little bit more about Kaylee. But anyways, on this episode, we talked about Alex's recent projects. So he had an 8-unit building that he purchased, and he talks about some of the issues that he had in terms of structural problems, some mold, some damaged beams and stuff like that he had to deal with. He also had he bought a place for himself where he added a second story addition onto the property. So that was a pretty cool thing to talk about, especially because I have a property which is only about 500 square feet, and I was curious to know what it would be like to add another story to that. And then finally, we talked about his hoarder house in Hamilton. So he bought a place where he said he had, I think if I remember, he said 28 bins of garbage in the property that they had to clear out. So if you're interested in learning about different strategies, multi-units, you're interested in talking also or learning a little bit about hoarder homes and flipping and that kind of thing, Alex is an expert when it comes to that. So there's a lot of valuable information in there. And if you want to connect, go to welloff.ca. My contact information is there. And you can also download some free reports as always, welloff.ca/report. And finally, if you can leave us a review, that would be greatly appreciated. Whatever platform you're listening on, if it's YouTube or Apple Podcasts, leave us a review, share it with your friends and family. Let's get the message out there. Let's help people become wealthy through real estate. And that's always appreciated. Enjoy the episode. Welcome to the Well Off Podcast, where the goal is to motivate, inspire, and share success principles. And for the second time, I'm here with Alex Powell. Last time I spoke to Alex on the podcast, it was actually Kaylee, who is his wife, and my wife, Mandy, who was at the time just my girlfriend. And then we had a good conversation between 4 realtors at the time. So now we're catching up again. So for those that don't know, Alex is a realtor and a real estate investor based out of Hamilton, Ontario, and his company, Powell Property Solutions, buys, redevelops single or multifamily properties throughout Southern Ontario with a goal of rejuvenating neighborhoods and providing safe and reliable housing. Alex, as always, welcome to the show. It's good to speak to you again.
You as well, man. It's very exciting to be back here. I do love your show, and I'm a huge advocate of it, so you do a bang-up job. It's a pleasure to be on here.
Awesome. Thanks a lot. I appreciate that.
Yeah. So you were mentioning the last time we chatted. I remember you brought all your equipment actually to our condo.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
You kind of had like 4 of us sitting around with all this gear hooked up and stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know if James was born then.
No, I don't think so. No, I think Kaylee was pregnant at the time.
Yeah.
It must have been pretty early. Yeah.
So we've moved into a house now. We've got 2 kids.
Yeah, I know things have changed.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and I know we've met up since then. We went to hung out at Boston Pizza that one time. But it's nice to catch up, man. It really is.
Yeah, for sure. I spoke to Kaylee recently, actually, because I know she's been selling stuff for crazy prices in Hamilton. So I reached out to her to just ask her about something. But I mean, that's cool. You guys seem to be doing really well. So how are things coming along for you in terms, I know Kaylee's kind of handling a lot of the real estate sales, and you're focusing your energy on your investment business, I guess. Yeah.
Yep. So things are going well. We're very busy for sure. I'm going to be focusing a little bit more on filling the backlog in the next little while, but we have I think 7 renovations on the go right now. A lot of them have kind of spilled over since last year because we are getting now into like much larger projects, which it's fun and it's interesting. It's just, there's a lot of exciting stuff. And then Kaylee, we just had Nathaniel middle of December.
Yeah.
Right. And it's beginning of March right now. And Kaylee is like, you can't keep her still. She just wants to go and crush deals. And, she's just doing remarkably well. So
just I know because Mandy's always has thought about that in the past, like in terms of being a realtor and potentially a mom at some point in the future. So how is Kaylee handling it? I know this isn't necessarily irrelevant for everyone listening, but I'm just curious to know what's Kaylee been doing to adjust to being a mom and a busy realtor at the same time.
Well, she makes it look easy, and I know that it can be taxing. I know that sometimes it's easier said than done. So that's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
But Kaylee has a very good approach at like just handling stuff, better than me, 1,000%. Like things just kind of roll off her. She's a very good real estate agent. She really is. Whereas like when I was a real estate agent, I like go in there and I go to do a job. Like my job is to sell your house. I'm going to crush it and try and get you the most amount of money I possibly can.
Yeah.
Granted. And then once I'm done, it's like, okay, perfect. Like, let us know if we can help you out. Kaylee, by the time she's sold the property, she's also crushed it. But then the whole family's coming over for dinner. And next thing you know, like we're at their children's christening or something. I'm like, how did you get here? But you know what? Like, and she just has that kind of personality where it's like, it's very infectious. Like people just love to be around her, which is part of the reason, like, I don't know what you saw in me, but I'm just grateful for it every day. But honestly, no, it's how she handles it and stuff like that. Like we do have support here, right? We do have administrative support and things like that. So for her, a lot of the major like time suckers is just communicating, right? And that's the biggest factor for any sort of like really high level real estate agent is how effectively they can communicate with their clients, with other agents. And so she's just dynamite. She gives people the time of the day for that. And I think that that's the only part that becomes challenging for her. But like she does it with such ease that it's hard to imagine. For her, I think what would be harder would be not working. Because she's somebody who moves and shakes. She doesn't want to just be at home. And like of course we have help at home too, which is we're extremely grateful for. And we are now looking into daycares and things like that too, just to make things a little bit easier. But I mean, when you're used to, like when you're in an entrepreneurial state and you're used to going out and doing things, it's hard to just be fixed at home. And I'm sure like I tip my hat to all the moms out there who are of that kind of mindset. Like being a stay-at-home parent is a full-time job. It's very challenging.
Yeah,
like
for sure.
There's days where like I'm at home and I'm like, oh crap, how the hell does anyone like do this every single day consistently?
Yeah.
But I mean, maybe it's different if you're not running a business. Maybe it's different if you're just just that's solely your focus, because I think then you can really make the best of it and try and focus a lot of the attention on it. Whereas I feel like even when I'm at home, I'm like fielding calls and stuff like that. So I'm kind of not present in both. So I prefer when I am home just to kind of shut it down so that I can be with the kids and just like show them there. And then during nap time, I like try and get like 20 things done in like an hour and a half time frame. And then once they're awake, it's like, all right, time's done. And then that's it. But
that's cool.
We make it work. We do. So we're good.
Obviously, you guys have a lot on the go. Tell me a little bit about your ongoing projects. I know you said you have a couple, and I also heard you on the Andrew Hines podcast talking about a multi-unit you bought. I don't know how long ago that was, but you had like some structural issues and stuff like that you dealt with. So what do you have on the go?
So we have an 8-unit apartment building that we're renovating. That's the one we were talking with Andrew Hines about. So we bought this 8-unit. Do you know Brian Karski?
Brian what? Sorry?
Brian Karski.
No.
He's a real estate agent as well. So him and I bought it together. It was our first delve into like the higher echelon or higher caliber of multis.
Okay.
So we bought the property together, and we kind of like it's like doing a big burr is what it is. It's no different. It's just you're adding a zero to every number. So if you're like, oh, the bathroom rental is like $5,000. Well, now it's $50,000 across all bathrooms, right? So mind you, it's only 8 units. So, only 8 units. It is 8 units. So it's there's a lot to be said for what had to go into it. So the layouts that were existing were just atrocious. You would walk into this, imagine like 600 square feet each unit, something like that. And they were set up as 1 bedroom plus it was like a living room that you could kind of like close the door to, that they were claiming was a second bedroom, which it wasn't, because then there was no living space.
Right.
And legit, like I'd say probably a quarter of the unit was made up of hallway. So you'd walk into this massive hallway that would then, like, if I'm looking at it, it would like shrink down like that and then go into another hallway, which would open up into like this tiny little kitchen. The kitchen had enough for like an oven and like a 30-inch wide cabinet for a sink beside it. And that's all there was. And then the fridge was kind of floating in the middle of the living room area.
Okay.
And the floors were off. So there was like a moldy smell and stuff like that. And it was just, I don't know, it was a gross property. A lot of drug activity there too. I know that, like, as we were talking with a lot of like the people that lived in the unit and also neighbors and stuff, like, yeah, this place was just like, this place was the cesspool for all of it. So, but anyway, when we bought the place, the first floor tenant had conveniently just called the city on the previous owners, not knowing that the place had sold. There was no sign or anything like that.
Yeah.
So we had bought the property. We went to go visit it the next day, and there's a sign plastered on the front thing saying that the property was under investigation for structural issues, because literally, like, there, from one end of the one of the units to the other, there could have been like a 2-inch difference.
Yeah.
It was like pretty substantial, right? So when you're going up the stairs, it's like, holy crap. So we had to do a lot to, like, jack the place up and get all the floors to be somewhat level. And even now, like, you can tell it's not like a fresh, clean new build, like straight as an arrow. You can tell it's kind of, but like it's 99% better than what it was. And we're happy with it. So we're kind of laying down new floor now, but it was just it was a much larger job in that respect. And that's why I'm glad, like, we took it on ourselves, because, dealing with the multifamily is a different permit process. It's a different expectations from the inspectors. Our inspector in this particular one is like crazy. She's like, I know she's doing the right thing, and I'm not saying anything negative there, but like, making us make sure that we have the proper nail patterns above our headers from like a non-structural load-bearing wall. It's like, come on, man. But anyway, it is what it is. Yeah. So, hey, we're going through the motions regardless. And but now what we've managed to do is we've created a big open concept 2-bedroom unit, and we've gotten rid of all the mold, we've gotten rid of all the rot, all new plumbing, all new electrical. It's going to have all new bathroom fixtures. It's going to have all new kitchen appliances. Everything's going to be top to bottom new. It's going to be dynamite. So very, very excited about it. And so, yeah, we bought this thing for about 1.15, and we're putting into it about $500,000. So we're going to be in it for like 1.65, maybe 1.7. And then we're anticipating like a $2 million refi at the back end, or an after repair value, sorry, at the back end.
That's cool. I had a couple questions about that. So one, moving forward, is there like a certain, I guess, just a way for you to identify what it would cost to repair the foundational issues, or is that just always a case-by-case basis? Like, did you learn anything that can help you?
There was no actual foundation issues here, because it's actually like, it's a crawl space underneath. Okay. So it just has like a footing. It's like a big footing that everything sits on. Okay. Yeah. Interesting. So as your question was, is there anything I could have learned from this that I can now apply moving onwards?
To really understand what it would cost you in the future to repair these types of problems if you have a similar issue.
Yeah, for sure. I think it just comes down to like that experience. So it's like, okay, now I've been there, done that, got the t-shirt. It's not like, oh, let's frame up a basement of a duplex conversion or something. It's not like that. Like, our framing on this job alone was, I think, like 110,000 or something like that. It was a big framing budget, but that we also coupled in like structural steel beams that are like going across like half the unit. And those structural steel beams go across all 8 units, and they have these massive footings poured into it. So we coupled that all into like framing. And then when you look at the bathrooms and like took down the drywall, and it's like you just flake, you can go like this and you can crush the 2x4 in your hand. It's like crazy. So you're having to like deal with all the rot and deal with all like the resistering of beams and joists that have been just rotted or cut out, or God knows what's been done.
Yeah.
So that all kind of falls into like the framing bucket. You know what I mean?
For sure. Yeah, and the other question that I had for you was, did you go with private financing on this type of project, or did you end up going with some more conventional financing?
We went through BMO on this one.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So they
commercial,
actually,
yeah.
they allowed us to do interest only for the first 6 months, I believe, and then
Okay.
it converted into like the actual mortgage,
Right.
just to give us a bit of a head start on the renos.
Yep.
Yeah. So
Cool. And did you get a construction loan of some sort, or did you just use your own funds for the renos?
just our own funds.
Okay. Okay. Did you explore
so-
any options to go down, like to grab some construction financing?
Yeah, I mean, we have resources we could have gone down
Yeah.
in case, but like, once again, this was one of those properties where we were kind of unsure what we were walking into because we were a little bit new. Like, I wouldn't have been, like, now I would be very comfortable joint venturing on a property like this.
Yeah.
No problem at all. But the first one that you do, and once you realize that, like, from the simplicity standpoint, there's not a whole lot of different aspects, but you have to anticipate some of the things that are going to be different than what you would do in like a simple like duplex triplex type conversion.
Sure.
So I think once, like, we got a good grip on it now, and it's like managing anything else. It's just dollars and cents, and you have to make sure that your forecasts are correct, and you have to make sure that you have the money in the budget, and then still you're trying to save money on every single line item. Your budget's much more robust, right? There's a lot more to the budget, but that's basically how I like to do it. Maybe other people like to do it a little bit differently, but we know exactly how much we're planning for, like, appliances, for drywall, for all this stuff. So consistently we're there, and we're like, okay, we have X amount of dollars for appliances. How do we save an extra $5,000 on that line item alone?
Yeah.
And then that compiles, right? It's a compound, sorry.
Sure. So if I understood correctly, you bought it as a property that had 8 one-bedroom units, and you're converting all the one bedrooms into 2-bedroom units.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Is there any other way for you to add value to that building aside from increasing the unit size, or not increasing, but the number of bedrooms?
I don't think so. We're putting in-suite laundry into all of them.
Okay.
The only other way would be like to like coin laundry or something, but there's no space for it. It's not like you walk into this lobby. It's not like there's this basement that has like this like what's it called, utility area. It's funny, the building, if you imagine, is here, and this is the ground level, and here's just the building.
Yeah.
There's actually behind the building, there's an underground like section. So you actually have to leave the building, go underground, and then that's where you get into like the boiler room and where all like the plumbing type stuff is. So it wouldn't be practical to have laundry or something down there. So I'm pretty sure we've made this unit into definitely like the highest and best use that possibly can be made into.
Yeah.
Yeah. The only other, like, I don't know. That's I couldn't think of anything else to do that really. Yeah.
Well, you've done enough, right? It's not to say that you haven't done enough. You've torn the building apart and rebuilt it. So
maybe if we have some sort of approval to put a 4th story on it, because we're 5th story or whatever, right? But even then, I think that at that point we need like elevators or something like that. So
cool.
We don't want to go down that road.
Yeah, that's awesome. And the goal is to, I guess, hold on to it long term after refinancing it.
For sure. Yeah, we have the same kind of mentality, Brian and myself. That's why it kind of works. Is like we both have kids. You know, this is something that our kids can take over when they're. You know, I'm okay to hold on to it forever because it's going to be cash flowing. Like, I think last we did the math, it's like $25,000 a year or something like that.
Nice.
Which is pretty cool.
Yeah, that's great.
And then of course it's paying itself down. And if we can get CMHC mortgage financing on it, it's like mind blowing.
Oh yeah,
right?
For sure. And you touched on building another story on this. I believe at one point I saw that you bought a property. I think it was a bungalow, and you turned it into a 2-story. Am I right?
Yeah, that was our personal house.
Oh, it was your personal house. Okay, can you tell me a little bit about that? Yeah.
Totally. So we did a 2nd-story addition on the place. So this property was in Grimsby on like a dead end street. So funny enough, I'll tell you the backstory of how I even found this. At the time, I was working on Knighton's team as his
Yep.
lead listing specialist.
Okay.
And so we were kind of calling around the area, just prospecting for future listings. And I called this guy, he's in the area of a listing that we have. So I call him, like, hey, my name's Alex, and I'm just curious if by any chance you would have thought about selling your house, maybe now or in the near future.
Yeah, yeah.
And his answer was, I think about it all the time.
Okay.
And I said, okay, so like ding, it's like
Yeah.
that's where the light goes off when you're cold calling. You're like, you've just gone through a series of like 100 no's and finally you've got someone like, okay, this person's interested. So then you probe with the following questions. Say, okay, if you don't mind me asking, why are you hesitating making a move? He's like, my property is garbage and nobody would want it. And I was like, ding, ding.
Yeah, yeah.
Like that like crosses two awesome, like, check boxes for me personally, because I love shitty properties. But anyway, so we were talking. He was kind of, a little bit like standoffish, which you can understand. Like I could be anybody. He doesn't know me from Adam. So I said, listen, your property is actually on my way home. Do you mind if I drop off a little package to you and just, tells you who I am? You can then see like I'm a real person. I'm not just some person who's calling from God knows where.
Yeah.
So he's like, yeah, no problem. So I remember I dropped the package off at his place, and like I remember going down the street and being like, oh my God, this is like totally secluded. It's very nice.
Yeah.
It's quaint. And so we ended up we ended up setting an appointment because I was like, do you mind if I actually bring Kaylee along with me? Because it was dark when I went over there. Well, not dark. It was like getting to be dark. Yeah. So it's not like I could see the place anyway. So I told him I would come by, actually check out the property. And I'd love to bring my wife along. And so Kaylee and I all three of us just hit it off. And the guy was awesome. He absolutely loved us. And so I think he was really excited because we're like, listen, this guy's name was Joe. And we're like, we would love to buy this property off you. And so he's like, we were excited about it, but his whole family got involved, which is fine, no doubt. The guy was probably in his like early 70s, maybe late 60s. Mm-hmm. But he's lost his wife, and I guess everybody felt an obligation to get into it. So they had got like 3 different realtors in and stuff like this to try and get quotes, and they were pulling in one direction or another. So he told me that at one time, and I was kind of like, crap, I think this one might be fizzling out on us. We're gonna have to keep an eye when it does come on the market, just to make sure we can get a bid on it or something like that. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden we get this email, and it's in my inbox. It says, listen, my family's driving me crazy. I told them that this is the price I want. It was higher than what we had kind of talked verbally with him. Yep. He's like, if you can get me an offer of $460, the deal is yours. I was like, the paperwork's coming to you in 5 minutes. And so sent him the paperwork, and then we bought the deal. And actually it was really nice. On closing date, him and his whole family was there, and we got a chance to like walk through the place, everybody, and everyone kind of, I guess a lot of them had grown up there. But I think that they were all really, really happy that it was us that was moving into that. Because at that point we had James and stuff like that already too. So we brought him along. So they were very excited. But anyway, that's kind of the back end story, but moving on with it, like this property was about 1,000 square feet in itself. 3 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, kitchen, and a living room, 1,000 square feet. And then, so here's the property. Beside the property was a detached garage. Mm-hmm. And at one point they had built a breezeway through the garage and the house. Non-insulated. It was just kind of like a convenient factor. You didn't have to walk out into the elements. And then he had like a bit of a fireplace in there where he would hang out, kind of thing. So we took the entire roof off the garage, the breezeway, and the house, and went up the full 2nd story. Cool. And we vaulted the one part of the house, so the actual floor to ceiling height is like 35 feet or something in one part of the house.
Nice.
And we built these faux beams in it. That looks really cool. So we'll have to have you over for some drinks or something.
Yeah. Can you tell me a little bit about
very interesting renovation?
Yeah. Can you tell me a bit about what that permit process was like, and like some of the costs involved with adding a 2nd story to a bungalow?
Yeah, permit process was terrible because we are on the Niagara Escarpment. So we had to first get approval from the Niagara Escarpment Commission. Okay. And so I remember that Kaylee and I got married on September 7th. and we got the permit, sorry, we got approval from the Niagara Escarpment Commission that we were allowed to apply now for a permit on December 17th of that same year.
Okay.
So it was, I guess, 3 months. And then
Yeah.
at that point, that's when we were allowed to go for a permit. So then there was still a bit of back and forth with that. Then we also had to get a septic permit because we were on a septic tank.
Okay.
So we had to redesign that. So that required environmental engineering. So a bit of back and forth there. But once the build started to happen, it was pretty straightforward. We had a real good framing crew on there that we GC'd the whole project ourselves because it's what we do anyway. So big ticket item was like the framing crew to make sure that they could execute the actual framing. And once it all came together and once the walls came up, it's funny. You look at a project like this and you kind of get intimidated just because of the sheer size of it and just because it's like a lot of like you're building into space unknown. It's not like having a shell and just like re-drywalling. You're actually creating more space.
Yeah.
So there's this unknown factor of like, oh, I wonder what's, how to accommodate this. But once the shell of a property comes together, it's literally no different than any other renovation. It's straightforward, totally. So it was great. The whole thing cost us $350,000. That's including it's including the septic.
Okay.
So
was it like a price per square foot type of thing, or
I didn't ever calculate that. No, for me it was like I got an electrical guy to come quote it. I could probably look at all that and then determine what the price per square foot was.
I'm assuming you added 1,000 square feet, right? You just doubled whatever you had. Oh, 1,800 because of the garage.
It was about 1,000 square feet. So we added another 1,800 because we built on top of the garage space.
Yeah. 1,800. Okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, even if it's 2,800 square feet in total, because even the problem is that when you're calculating the price per square foot to build, we also didn't incorporate, we didn't do a new foundation.
Yeah.
We did waterproofing around the foundation, but that was fine. Also, the main floor walls were also completely done already. So we just heightened them with these I don't know what they were called, but they use 2x6 exterior walls to bring the main floor level up. So instead of having normal 8-foot ceilings, I think in the main floor we have 10-foot ceilings or something like that.
Yeah.
So I mean for 28, so let's say $350,000 by an 18. Divided by 1,800, I mean we're about $194 a square foot.
Yep.
But that doesn't. That's only if we were building that extra 1,800. But remember, we still had to finish the 1,000 square feet. So
but just to kind of get a ballpark idea, it did end up costing you just about $200 a square foot to add the second story.
No, well, yes. Yes and no. I don't think that's it's not a good analysis because if you think about it, the main floor also had to be completely redone. Like you imagine we're reframing the entire main floor plumbing.
Yeah.
So if the entire square foot is just 2,800 square feet and it costs us $350,000 to do, that actually is $125 a square foot.
Sure. I get what you're saying.
But if we're looking at the upstairs in itself, for the 350, then that's 200. So what I would say is because we didn't have a foundation, because we didn't have to do a lot of that kind of stuff, we're probably somewhere in the middle, maybe like $150 a square foot. So that's kind of where I would see it. But we were pretty good. Not to mention too, we ended up doing some of the stuff ourselves as well. Like the decorative beams, like some of the feature kind of walls that we added to the elements, like the fireplace build out, I built that myself. So different elements of the property we contributed to in different ways. So that definitely helped out too with some of the costs that would have definitely driven things up higher. But
sure. Yeah, the reason I'm asking, or part that I'm extra curious about this, is because I have a bungalow in Hamilton. It's literally a 1-bedroom detached bungalow.
Nice.
That's about 550 square feet. And it has an unfinished basement. So there isn't really much opportunity to add value other than to maybe build a second story.
When did you pick that up?
I bought it 2 years ago,
For
just
how
about.
much? For how much you don't mind me
I
asking?
bought it for 182.
Boom,
Yeah.
dynamite.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was pretty good. Um, yeah. So I've always kind of thought about adding another story, or the other thought is, why don't I just sell it and then use the money for something else instead? Like what's the better option there? So for now, I'm just kind of leaving it, letting it increase in value and see what happens.
Do you ever just rent it out currently?
It is rented. It's tenanted. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely, if you're gonna sell that before, like in my opinion, if you're gonna sell it as is, that's one thing.
Yeah.
But then you're just allowing another investor to profit from that.
Right.
Like you could probably make something cool about it, or make the property already like spit shined in its current thing, so you can at least get it for its highest and best use as it currently stands.
Yeah.
Not where you're not having to invest a whole crap load of money or anything like that either, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I know you guys, like, I think you posted recently about this property that you bought that was like a serious hoarder house, and it was just filled with garbage left, right, and center. So can you tell
Yeah.
us a little bit about that project? What was that like? And maybe you can share with us some of the numbers and what it cost you to renovate it and what you ended up selling it for.
Yeah. So did you see the video
I
actually on
did.
our Facebook wall?
I
Yeah.
did see it. Yeah.
So it was on CHCH News as
Yeah.
the worst hoarder house in
Yeah.
Hamilton, which which I'm kind of proud about, to
Yeah.
be honest with you. But yeah, we bought this property. The seller just like he wanted out. I think that what happened is we saw it on the news. So we went to go drop off a card at the house. And I think that at the same time he saw it himself on the news. And
Okay.
I think he might have panicked and just was like, I need to get rid of this. So
Yeah.
he came to the house, he saw our card, and he's like, I need to get rid of this house and I need to close in like a week.
Yeah.
And we're like, okay, come on over, let's talk details. So we figured it out. He only wanted 150,000. So we're like, yeah, no problem at all. So we
Yeah.
bought it. So the demolition in itself, just removal of garbage,
Yeah.
not demolition, was 28 bins,
Wow.
full bins. So like they were taking out like dead rats. There's 120 kilograms of human feces.
Wow.
Yeah, there was just like there's a open kerosene containers, propane tanks.
Whoa.
It was just like a bomb waiting to happen
Oh,
in
yeah.
any regard.
So dangerous. Yeah.
You would walk up to the windows you'd be outside the house and you'd look at the windows and it was like hot summer weather.
Yeah.
And you could see like I don't know if they were like lice or like fleas or whatever that were just like buzzing around the windows. And then on the inside windowsill in broad daylight for the entire the entire community to view were rats eating the lice off the windows. I've got a video where I'd walked up right to the window and there's two rats eating the lice off the window. I was like, this is mind blowing. This
Yeah.
is so crazy.
Yeah.
And like, I felt bad for the guy totally because you could tell like he's very unassuming. You would never assume that this. And he actually left us a 10-minute like testimonial video about like how quick we were to react, because we also found like a bunch of heirlooms that he had that were buried in there that we fished out for him. We found his passport. We found a blanket that his daughter had knit him from back home. Like there was a bunch of stuff that like we kind of helped him go through. So his goal was just to like take the money, buy a Winnebago, and just go across country and then just retire happy. That was his plan.
Yeah.
And so, but it was sad. We were like, as we were clearing the place out, you could tell like someone had lived there in that, and he was like at certain points like fighting the elements, not only like water coming in, but like raccoons coming into the house and rats in the middle of the night. It's just like thing of nightmares. Anyway, we got the place all cleared out and we like top to bottom renovation. It was like, I think the whole thing cost us like, I want to say like $180,000 or something like that, just in renovations.
Yep.
For a single family, that's pretty it's a big chunk of money just for an inside gut, right?
Because you had some rotten beams and stuff like that as well, right? in there?
Yeah, it was bad. So just a lot of like saturated water from like soggy stuff sitting for a long time.
Yeah.
And the smell was like the worst. Like it like embeds itself in the lumber.
Yeah.
So you had to go through and like we sprayed it twice for like insects and 3 times for like ozone type stuff. There's this, it's like a fogging machine that they
Yeah.
come
Yeah.
through and they fog every corner. And as soon as you go in there, it smells like baby powder after it's done.
Yeah.
So it's actually really cool. And like you also got to imagine like you got to kind of keep the crews that you're working with kind of at a simmer as well, because they go into a property that stinks like all hell. Like they'll just say, no, we don't want this job. Like there's so much work out there. Why don't we take this one?
Yeah,
but
for sure. So
luckily,
Alex,
we
just
have incredible crews. But
sorry to cut you off. Just very quickly, that ozone thing, you had to do it twice because I've never actually personally used one of those machines, but from my research, it seems like they usually work on the first try. Like they do a great job.
One and done. We did it. We did it once before the drywall came down, just to get like a good like coating of smell cover.
Okay.
And then once we ripped the drywall off and we took the insulation off and we had a full clean slate, we did it one more time. And I mean, for the cost of like an extra $500 to hit it twice, it was worth every penny, because like, once again, like you got to imagine the people that are going and digging this place out, like you want to make their life a little bit better. So, like it was wild. So anyway, we did everything top to bottom, like electrical, plumbing, HVAC, you name it. New drywall, new flooring, new trim, everything brand new. So after it was all said and done, I think we sold it for 645 or so.
Nice.
642 or so. Yeah, so 640 something.
Okay.
Low 640s.
That's pretty good. So you bought it for 150. Let's say you put in 200 between renovations and closing costs and whatnot. So you're in for 350 and you sell it for 640. It's pretty good. Can't.
Yeah.
Like
we did very well.
Good result. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you don't come across these every day. That's why like I'm often hesitant to share the numbers, because then everyone expects that like, oh, I'm going to go make $250,000 on a flip.
Yeah.
Just for the viewers, if we do a $30,000 flip, it's not a bad flip.
Yeah.
Just so you know.
Yeah, for sure.
But remember, it all comes down to a return on investment too. If I'm putting $180,000 into renovate something and I make $30,000, that's terrible. So just keep that in mind as well, right? So it just goes down to how much you put into the deal itself.
Yeah, well, I guess that also, it depends on how long it takes you to make your money. If it takes you like 2 weeks to make 30 grand on 180, that's not too bad.
Yeah, I would agree for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. But at that point, it's like, when do you just like not sell it on the market? Like if I was going to make $100,000 on that deal and I knew that after renovations, I would have just relisted it after having cleaned it out and then made $100,000.
Yeah.
But we wanted to take on the renovation and profit from that too.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So,
change of use. So you've done that, I think, a couple times where you take like either a single family or a duplex and you add additional units. Do you have any recent experiences doing that, and anything you can share?
Yeah, for sure. Our first time doing it was we converted an old shawarma hut into part of what was a legal triplex.
Yep.
I think we might have talked about that in the past.
But on the last one.
Yeah. We got expropriated from the government on that one. I'm still sour about it. I look at it now and I'm like, oh, that place would have been worth so much more money.
So what happened to it? Because that was for the LRT, and then the project got canceled. So what happened to that property? Do you know?
Well, it's still there. It's boarded up. I'm pretty sure every piece of copper is being stripped clean out of that place for sure.
Yeah.
But to be honest, I don't really know what condition or where it's at right now. It's been neglected for so long.
Yeah.
But it's all boarded up. The most recent change of use that we've done. So we bought a property in Welland. It's a 5-unit. It was a 2 commercial and 2 residential. And on the main floor, one of the commercials was a convenience store, and then the place beside it was actually an old laundry parlor with a laundry mat. Right.
Yep.
Above it was 2 3-bedroom units. So and so the property was unique in the fact that the building in the front that was on the corner of Helms and Regent, it had this convenience store, laundromat. Behind the building was a detached little dinky property. The property, I think, is 620 square feet, and it's 2 stories. So if you imagine just how small the square footage is per floor, it's like 300 square feet of floor. It's next to nothing.
Yeah.
So we just got, not just, but a couple months ago, we got granted the severance. So we've actually cut that property to be separated from the Helms property. So we bought both in competition on the market.
Yeah.
Bought it for $286,000.
Yeah.
And so we severed it. We're going to flip we're putting about 30 grand into the house portion. And we're going to flip that one on its own for about 250.
You should, I would imagine you can get that, maybe even more than that with the way things are right now.
I think so too. I'm hopefully optimistic, and I will remain realistic. I will remain status quo and be pleasantly surprised. That's what I'm trying to say. Prefer that method than hoping for the best and preparing for it. Yeah. So the other building itself, the 2 commercial, 2 residential, we're actually converting it to 5 residential. So we got approval from the Committee of Adjustments for that as well. And so the problem we faced with it was when you're doing a change of use, you have to go through what's called a registration of site condition. Okay. And so registration of site condition typically includes a phase 1 environmental as well as a barrage of other crap that the city needs from you, including like they got to do like a historical search on the property back like 100 years to see all the uses, yada, yada, yada. So it's above my scope of knowledge of what is required, but I know that the report they end up pumping out is like 100+ pages of like everything that this property has involved with it. Part of the reason you need this is because when you go from a commercial to residential, you're actually going to a more sensitive use. So I'm not sure if it would apply going in the reverse direction. I think it would, but that being said, I keep hearing the more sensitive use, right? So I get it. So I guess the part that kind of irks me is that the property, or when we first went through the RSC process, it's tedious, and especially during COVID, it takes forever.
Yeah.
And they told us that we would only need a phase 1 to be done on the property. And it makes sense why a phase 1 would need to be done, because you, like, it's a laundromat. There's like, when you have what's it called? Dry cleaners. Thank you. Brain party here. Yeah. When you have a dry cleaners, there's a chance of like contamination within the concrete, within the soil, or whatever. If they being saturating into the ground, if there was any spills. Same if there's a gas station in a close proximity to a property, and there's some sort of leakage of like gas. They want to make sure that there's no contaminated soil. So for a laundromat, it's usually not a big deal. There's no gas stations around, so it wasn't going to be a big deal. They were like 100% this doesn't need a phase 2. So we went through the whole process of a phase 1, and then the city pushes it back to us and says, no, we want a phase 2. And then they refuted. They said, listen, there's no dry cleaners. They said, well, dry cleaner is very close to what we would deem, a laundromat's very close to dry cleaners. So hence we are going to require this from you. So super frustrating, very expensive. A phase 1 costs about $5,000 all in. Phase 2, you can add another $15,000 on top of that. So anyway, and of course all the time and all that. So effectively what that's done is it's just delayed our permit process, because they won't release the permit unless we have an approved RSC. Sure. So we are where we are there. Now, that being said, we always start on our projects before we get permits, just because we need to make up some sort of headway. So a lot of the interior framing is being finished. We've already run some interior plumbing to try and make some, make some headway. But all in all, it's going to be good. Now the property behind us, the detached residential one, that one's actually almost finished. So that one we're planning to go on the market, hopefully even in the next month or so. Not even.
Cool. Yeah.
Hopefully
I'd love to see that sometime. I have I have some places down in like Welland, St. Catharines, so I'd love to come by if you're ever around or whatnot, and have a look and see what you're doing out there. So
Yeah, maybe do a
that's
video for your viewers, man. I'd love
yeah,
to share.
sure. That's so cool that because I remember seeing that property. I remember looking at it. I actually looked into possibly buying it, but I would have done the exact same thing you did, convert the commercial into residential, but I had never done anything like that, so I kind of shied away from the project. But you did so well with that, like just to think that you were able to buy it for that price. That house alone that you're going to sell, realistically, it's probably going to go over 300, maybe even like 350 or whatnot.
I don't know if it's gonna like. I think like an optimistic look would be like in the high twos. I think realistically, like it would be 250. Yeah, even though it's a detached property, it doesn't have a backyard. That's one thing. It has parking, but like it's 650 square feet. So it's a tiny little house. So if it was like a full detached property that was just crushing it on the same street as all the other ones, or same type as all the other ones, yeah, for sure, we'd be probably even in the fours. But the property just isn't conducive of it. But we're gonna go all out. Like all brand new wiring, all brand new plumbing, new appliances, new kitchen. The place looks really kind of cute and cozy, so it's gonna be a great home for somebody.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, good luck with that. Like I said, I'd love to have a look. And I know we're kind of running short on time here. So before we move on to the next section, is there anything else you want to touch on? Anything we forgot to talk about?
No, I think that it's, I mean, all in all, it's, there's all kinds of exciting stuff. I know, what I'm excited about is to talk about the next projects, and we have a couple coming down the pipeline, but I feel like I've been so ingrained in these projects, when you like put a lot of effort into a couple things and you're just excited at a certain point to see them done.
Oh yeah.
Like I'm so excited to see these properties in operation and just buzzing,
Oh yeah.
because the cash flow on either one is going to be exceptional, and it's going to be it's going to be a game changer in terms of like the passive cash flow that we are expecting in our lives. And that's what it's all about. Like, when I think about this business in itself, I know a lot of real estate investors, especially, they get caught up in what I like to call the pursuit of more. And it's just more. And we do it too. Like this year, we have a goal of crushing 30 deals, It's like, why? Why are we doing this?
Yeah.
Like, what's the point of it? So for us and our family, like our values are very much passive income and freedom of time so that we can go and experience bigger, different things. So I think that, as you go through the stepping stones, you have to work you have to sludge through the swamps a little bit, and then you climb into the next rung, and then it becomes easier and better and faster, and you have better trades and better systems and things. So I think the only thing that I would want to touch on is that I'm excited. I'm excited for the next steps because it's fantastic. It's a challenge. I love what I do, and I know Kelly would share the same things. And obviously, so do you, because even talking about real estate gives us a tremendous amount of energy and passion.
Yeah.
And I think that's really cool because we're doing good things out there. We're repurposing housing, and we're adding places for people to live. And if you can make it lucrative, then why the hell not, right?
Oh, definitely. And the really cool thing is like seeing the growth, just having met you a couple years ago, maybe 2 or 3 years ago, and then doing that episode with you when you lived in that condo, like you mentioned, you and Kaylee didn't have any kids. And then to see where your business is at today, where you guys are at as a family. And then same with us, just to experience that growth and to see it happen simultaneously is pretty cool. And I look forward to continuing to see where you continue to go, and to continue to grow with you guys as well. So I appreciate you sharing all that.
Man.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's a pleasure for us too. The feeling is very mutual.
Yeah, great. So let's jump into the random 5. I'm going to ask you 5 random questions, and you just tell me the first thing that comes to mind. Number 1, what 2 totally normal things become really weird if you do them back to back?
What would you say to this kind of question?
Yeah. Okay. Maybe get away with wearing tights professionally in a professional setting.
I've always wanted to do that. For sure.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah. So that's that. Number 3, what's the weirdest thing you found lying around? Or sorry, lying on the ground
Weirdest thing lying, like,
that you found lying on the ground?
I like the list is literally endless. Like we demoed like some of the worst houses in Hamilton.
Yeah.
This last property we're doing right now, we found a dead cat.
Whoa.
Yeah, which was like super disgusting. Like
Yeah.
super disgusting. We found a box full of porno. I actually posted it on my Instagram.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'd say that's probably the weirdest, like some very, very questionable pictures as part of this porno collection. This was not just like your standard A grade, you know?
Yeah.
This was like, they were definitely like peering deep within themselves, you know, good for them. But I think it always is pretty like hilarious when you can delve into that, you know?
Yeah. Okay. There you go. Number 4, what's something that I don't know?
That you don't know. Do you know that I speak fluent Hungarian?
I do know that because I see videos of you talking to your son sometimes in Hungarian.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Well, partial German. My German is really crap, but I can understand a lot of it.
Okay, cool.
What else wouldn't you know? Oh, yeah. I used to teach Hungarian folk dance.
Oh, cool. Interesting. I have no idea what that would be.
So we actually we used. Yeah, it's a good old party. It's a lot of fun actually. It's not like your typical you know, hoity-toity kind of dancing. Not like river dance or like ring Russian dancing either. It's like kind of like salsa, but like more Eastern European. Cool. So yeah, that's actually how my parents met in that dance group.
Oh, nice. Okay, cool.
Yeah, so I grew up around it.
Yeah, that's something I didn't know for sure. Number 5, where is the best place in Hamilton to have a picnic?
Best place in Hamilton to have a picnic. I'd say like we got some pretty sweet areas here, like in terms of like waterfalls and stuff like that. But even to like have a picnic, I would say like maybe like Gage Park or something. I think that I don't know if I would want to be completely secluded for like a nice picnic. You kind of like Gage Park. Sometimes you can go there and there's like stuff happening around. So I don't know. I would probably lean more towards that than I would somewhere completely. But there's like there's some really cool areas like in the Devil's Punch Bowl and stuff like that. You can do some pretty cool sightseeing and stuff like that. So
there you go.
Yeah, man.
So that concludes the Random 5. If you want to tell people how they can reach you and what services you provide.
For sure. So if you guys are looking to get into real estate investing, the one thing I would recommend, if you go on our website, www.palpropertysolutions.com, there is actually in the top right-hand corner a place where you can get a free book. And I wrote it. You can download it. I write it like a grade 4 level. So it'll probably take you an hour to read it. Yeah. But I've gotten a lot of really good feedback from people who are really trying to get into it. Like, there's the telltale, like, I don't have any money, or I don't have any time, or I don't have any experience. This kind of flushes out what should you do if you fall into those situations. And then let me know what you think about the book. That will be step 1, how to get your foot in the door. The book itself is called Getting Your Foot in the Door. The other thing is the services that we provide. We provide opportunities for people that want to get into real estate investing, don't have time, don't have the resources, and don't really know how to execute, but have cash that they want to invest and can qualify for a mortgage. So 2 important factors. So if you have money that you want to invest and you can qualify for mortgages, then give us a call, and we'd love to talk about future partnership opportunities and how we can build your net worth without you having to do a single thing. It's a beautiful thing.
There you go. Awesome. Alex, thank you for everything you shared today. And it's always nice chatting with you. And I look forward to seeing you possibly in Welland at some point in the near future.
Yeah, absolutely.
So good luck with all your projects, and we'll talk again soon.
Thanks again for having me, buddy. Cheers.
All right. Take care. Thanks once again for listening to another episode of the Well Off Podcast. Just want to remind you that if you do appreciate the content, all I ask is that you comment, maybe like it if you can on the platform that you're listening to it on, and finally share it with friends and family. I'd love to get the message out there, and it would mean a lot if you can share it. And finally, I just wanted to offer you, as a valued listener, a free copy to the Roadmap to Real Estate Investing, which is a document that I've put together which helps you identify what strategy would best suit your needs at this current time. You go over certain things that are included in this document step by step, and it'll hopefully provide you with some clarity. So have a look. You can go to www.welloff.ca/guide to download your free copy.